So while we're thinking about sustainable growth, opportunity for our region, economic development, I'd like to invite economic development leaders forward. Let's welcome representation from Saugeen First Nation, Bruce County, Grey and Huron counties, and we'll have a panel discussion. So let's just start, if we could, and our panelists are mic'd, so we should be able to hear everybody well. I'd like to just ask each panelist to take 2 minutes, introduce yourself with your name, your title, maybe a little bit about your role or your portfolio within your organization. And Councillor Anaquach, we'll start with you.
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome to the home of the handsome. Currently, my role is I chair the Economic Development Committee in my community. I was the chief for 6 years, starting in 2016. Currently sit as a councillor. I've been on the council for over 30 years. So it's been my passion, my life, my career, I guess, if you will. My background is rec leadership. I did that for some time, and I am a hockey coach. So we see Shane on the ice quite often. But no, we certainly are looking forward to working cooperatively with Bruce and getting the clean energy developed in our communities as well. We have some initiatives, we have some partnerships. We're partners with Hydro One. We own 38% of the Milton line. So that was the first in our community, if not the first in Ontario, if not Canada. So we're looking forward to working together and also finding solutions for our nuclear waste. So,
I'm Steve Furness with Grey County. I'm the manager of economic development and tourism. Savannah had to get back to the office, but we work very closely together. We have a team there that's focused, I think, a lot of the sectors that have been mentioned before. We see agriculture, tourism, and the manufacturing sector. And now our investment strategy around clean energy is kind of a key focus. And I think it's been highlighted here, but we've got a lot of activity happening across the region, and I really like seeing that. There was a time when I think I was one of the only economic development people around, and that's because I'm an old guy. But I really like how it's been brought together, and I really give credit to Bruce Power for that leadership in saying the suppliers are to come here. It's been so exciting these last few years, and I think the future going forward.
Great. My name is Jeff Loney. I am the manager of economic development at Bruce County. So similar to Steve, work with a team. But if anybody from County Council is here, so close your ears now. In reality, our team doesn't actually do anything. And what I mean by that is our economic development team focuses on creating an environment so that people across this room can really create those jobs, create investment, put money into our communities, and we can really support and prop up the work that you're individually doing. Because even though Steve and all of us here have economic development in our title, let's be honest, everybody in this room is in economic development. We just get that fun business card that says it. So Bruce County has 3 main focuses. We work in business development, we work in workforce development, and we work in community development. So all ends of that spectrum, from let's get somebody to come and visit to how do we get them to be a lifelong resident and ultimately our advocates at the end of the day.
Great. Hi, my name is Vicki Loss, and I'm with the County of Huron. I'm the Economic Development Director there. And we did a very similar exercise at one of our last meetings. We sort of went around the table, said what were our main sectors are, what we focused on, and it really became what he said. And the reason I mention that is because we're so similar in what we're doing that there's no reason not to have this kind of collaboration to really forward the region. So in our economic development department, we have various lines of business. We house the Small Business Enterprise Center, which is supported by the province for business development, expansion, mentoring, and succession planning too, which is becoming a huge issue. We look after tourism at the county level. We have 9 municipal partners. So we do a lot of collaboration, networking, conversation, bringing people together. We also have the local immigration partnership for Huron County under our umbrella. And then, of course, we focus on investment attraction, support for our main sectors, which are agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, very similar. We work with our municipal partners on that community development sphere. So resident attraction, but really helping people to feel like they belong so that they want to stay. Even if their job changes, they still want to stay because they've connected to the area.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me today and to being willing to share your insight, your knowledge. And so I really wanted to touch on that. You know, we've talked a lot today about clean energy. We've talked about nuclear. We've talked about potential with medical isotope portfolio. Thank you to Georgian College, but TC Energy as well with proposed Ontario Pump Storage Project model and Nuclear Waste Management Organization with their display with regards to the Deep Geological Repository. These are other clean energy projects that I see potentially online here in the clean energy frontier region of Bruce Grey, Huron. I also think about the future of hydrogen. I think about the future of small modular reactors. I look at my colleague Chad Richards. He's there, the incredible work he's doing with the ag community as well. And so when we think about economic diversity, we certainly have talked a lot about clean energy and nuclear. My next question, which you have kind of answered when we think about other areas, what are your other economic drivers? Maybe I'll just do a rapid fire. What's your other economic drivers? And Vicki, we're going to start with you.
We're really looking at getting more involved in the clean energy sector. So if you go back to that earlier map with the people that were attracted to the area to support the sector, there were only 2 green dots in Huron County. I want more green dots in Huron County.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So on top of energy, of course, being here in Bruce County, agriculture is a big focus. Our interior communities and all of our communities have a lot, not only with the primary production, but also the food processing and the full spectrum of that part.
Same with us. I mean, I would add tourism. Tourism is a big element of our community, particularly on in the Blue Mountain side. But you know, we just finished and got approved our investment strategy. One of the key elements last year was the value-added agri-food show, and we were down in Chicago talking to producers. And you know, one of the value-added propositions that we drilled down a bit further is that there's a whole opportunity around cold storage, and so there might be some opportunities in our area, and we're going to pursue those.
For us, the economic driver is the cottage industry. Mm-hmm. We are one of the largest leasehold programs in Ontario, if not Canada, on the First Nation. That's our number one economic driver. Sauble Beach, if you will. I mean, that's all cottage country. So with the electricity cluster, I would think that the spin-off would be to bolster the tourism industry in our area.
That's great, thank you. So I do have a few pointed questions, and so Jeff, I'm going to start with you with Bruce County. You did mention about business development. We've certainly talked about entrepreneurialism today. In Bruce County, can you tell us a little bit more about the program you have in place to support entrepreneurs as they get started and grow their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Bruce County, we have what's called the Business to Bruce Services. Similar to Vicki, this is a small business enterprise center program that's funded by the provincial government, but we like to take their base program and grow on it and really see how we can support those entrepreneurs. So we know there's a lot of large companies around the tables today, and some smaller ones, of course. But in Ontario, more than 96% of businesses are what we consider to be small or micro businesses. These are your friends, your relatives who may have a bakery or a retail store or a freelance type business. And it's really important from Bruce County's perspective that we can help grow these businesses and help them succeed. Now, and this is going to get into something we're talking about later, but we know that 85% of growth in our communities comes from those that are within our communities. So ensuring that we have the support networks, being able to help somebody register a business, grow their business into their first employee, support the workforce needs that they have, are all run through our series of business advisors. We call them our business development coordinators, but we give them that opportunity to come in, sit one-on-one with businesses, talk about the needs that that business may have, and give them the connections that they need to succeed. Really, what we like to do is our business connectors like to sit there and talk about maybe the 200 things that we've seen go wrong and make sure that our small businesses don't make those same mistakes moving forward and ultimately succeed at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And good facts at the beginning with the small business stats. I knew I could count on you for that, Jeff. You're almost a census nerd like I am. Question for Councillor Anaquah with Saugeen First Nation. It was incredible today. Shane, thank you very much for sharing with us about Makwa's development and the expansion of your company. It was really incredible to hear directly from you, so thanks for sharing. And it was also great to hear, Marcia, thank you for sharing with regards to eSupply and the opportunity for everybody to learn of these companies and to support. And so my question is, how can we continue to support Indigenous entrepreneurs?
Well, funding is always an issue. The capacity to become an entrepreneur as well. We do have microloans available through our economic development department to start small businesses. Unfortunately, I think some of the issues are around, we spoke about education this morning, and I believe that some of the educational issues that we have in our community needs to be addressed, and to have the capacity to be an entrepreneur. We haven't had a lot of opportunities for business until recently. I mean, with the partnerships that we've had with outside proponents, it's certainly opened the door to that opportunity now. So we're hoping to explore that a lot further. And again, we do have the microloans for small business.
Thank you so much for sharing. Steve, question for you with regards to Grey County. So you mentioned investment attraction. I know your team has been doing incredible work on investment attraction, very strategic and about the way you roll this work together as well. So I'm asking if you can share a little bit with us how your team is advancing your investment attraction efforts for the community of Grey County.
Right, okay, thanks. So a few years ago, we asked the question, are we investment ready? And I think the answer was, not really. And so we've been working very hard on trying to become investment ready. That means knowing your industrial parks. Do you have the capacity? If someone's looking for an acre or 2 acres, and you would be surprised at how many municipalities are not able to answer those questions. So we spent some time to do that, as well as work with the college to understand the labor pool. And so we are hosting job fairs and understanding that, getting the micro-credential programs, getting more apprenticeship programs. All that is about becoming investment ready. And so 2 years ago, we thought we were ready to start reaching out and developing a strategy for investment attraction. And there is a funding program from the federal government through CECI. They won't give you any dollars to go knock on doors until you have a strategy. So 2 years ago, we developed that strategy. And of course, no surprise, the consultant came back and said, clean energy frontier. You look at the opportunities you have, as well as agri-food and tourism. So last year, we got funding from CEI to go to Chicago, big food show. We developed some of those relationships, mostly learning about the sector and seeing what can be applied here. Next year, or this year, and we're still sort of waiting for our application, because it's not public yet, so we won't say anything.
Should I cut his mic?
No. So we hopefully got funding to do clean energy sector. And that is, we have to drill down and develop a unique value proposition. And yet, Mr. Enchek delivered that for us, and we just have to drill down on it. And it's that kind of thing that we have to do together. And yet there are other opportunities when you look in your region. I mean, 2 of our municipalities share a biodigester. We have an opportunity to do deep water cooling from the lakes. This is not new technology. This is done in Toronto. In fact, I had a study done in Owen Sound years ago. That's an opportunity. So we will continue to reach out and understand and participate, and we look forward to starting that work at the CNA.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, the Canadian Nuclear Association Conference is coming up next month, and it'll be great to sit down with some of our colleagues even more colleagues that are here today to continue to learn about how we can support business to evolve here in the Clean Energy Frontier region. Vicki, I have a question with Huron County. So when I know you've talked a little bit about agri-food and some of the good work that your team has been doing, could you share with us a little bit more on sectors that you're targeting as you are developing your investment attraction strategy?
So agriculture is our #1 sector in Huron County. And so with everything you do as an economic developer, it's wise to build on what you have. So agriculture figures into most of what we're considering. But what we're really wanting to target, as I said previously, is that clean energy sector, but in support of agriculture or in collaboration or partnership with agriculture. So we're looking at opportunities in hydrogen. So when we look at different sources of fuels for vehicles and equipment, electric vehicles are great for personal use, but you don't get enough power or torque for agricultural equipment. So hydrogen is a much better source. We can get that kind of power that we need for that equipment through hydrogen. We can also produce urea locally through hydrogen plants. And right now, the urea is a very important component of commercial fertilizer. Right now, our urea source is Russia. So you can imagine maybe some supply chain issues, but on top of that, because of the war, the sanctions against Russia are such that urea now has a 30% surcharge on it. Russia doesn't really care. It's our farmers who pay that. So if we can actually create a source of urea that's local, we can really support our ag industry, and we will have a market to sell it. Local urea will sell well in comparison to imported. Another area that we would look at in that clean energy sector would be anaerobic digestion for the production of renewable natural gas. That would help us immensely in business development and attraction. And the connection back to agriculture is that our agricultural industry produces the feedstock to help power anaerobic digesters. So we can put in manure, green fertilizer crops. We can stay away from the food crops. We don't want to jeopardize that or have competition for that kind of product. We want to keep food at a most reasonable price, but we can look at other opportunities like straw. Embedding of the manure, for example, is really powerful in anaerobic digestion. The other thing it does to support our ag industry is the digestate can still be land applied to fertilize crops. So application of manure is very common in Huron County. We have one of the largest location quotients for livestock production. And so we have a lot of available manure, but it is used for land application. The positive aspect of digestate is that the AD process removes pathogens that you might find in that manure. So suddenly it makes it much safer to land apply when we're looking at protecting our ground and surface water. So that's what we're looking for. We always want to be cognizant of our most important key sector and looking at helping to supply their needs, but also looking for some new development. And that's our approach.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's great, Vicki. Thanks so much for sharing that. So I have one question left, and then I do have a few remarks I'd like to make. But my last question for the panelists, and it's for everybody on this panel, it's whether you have a single data point you'd like to share or just other closing remarks. What's the one thing you really want this group to know about the community that you are providing economic development for?
Well, at Saugeen, we're open for business. I mean, we've partnered with a lot of outside components. We're partners with the medical isotopes for one. We're also exploring the pumped storage with TC Energy, and that would be a full-on partnership if it comes to fruition at one point. So we're still in the early stages of conversation around that. I would say that we're in a position to explore those opportunities. We have some success stories with the local businesses that are already, like East Supply and Makwa. I mean, those are indications of where we want to go in the future with that.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
I think what the message I'd like to leave is that we are a team, and I think that's the beginning was mentioned, and I think that was the start with Bruce Power, but we really are a team. If you've ever been involved in investment and traction over a long period of time, we are a small region in the world, and if an employer is coming to look at us, they're going to pick the site. We got to work very hard and not try and compete with each other because we'll lose. We all win regardless of where that plant goes. I'm reminded by a colleague of mine in Peterborough who's since retired, who said the biggest employer in Peterborough was in Oshawa, and he valued where the jobs were. And I think that's, from my perspective, I know assessment's important. I know our elected officials, it's important because you're asked about taxes, but I really encourage us to work together as a team to land as many plants as we can across this region. That would be my last one.
Economic development doesn't understand municipal boundaries. I think that's an easy way to summarize that. I think what I'd like to leave is opportunity and growth. And we heard Brock talk this morning about where Canada is positioned and even where the 3 counties and our First Nations are positioned to grow and take advantage of those opportunities. As Steve said, this is working together. This is private industry. This is our counties and our local municipalities working together to really get to where we want to be. So I was asked to give numbers, and as Jess nicely pointed out, I like my numbers. So 5.6% is what we've seen in growth in our multi-residential assessment. In a time where assessments aren't getting updated, this is real growth. Now, we know housing isn't fixed. We know there's lots of work to do. We're part of our planning and development team here at Bruce County that's working on a lot of that, but we're seeing growth in places like multi-residential. Almost 2.7% is what we've seen in growth in commercial. We're seeing people investing, choosing to be in our counties, choosing to be in our areas, and how do we continue to grow, to push, and to really grab on to those opportunities that are presented, whether that's in places like Chicago, in industries like agriculture or our tourism industry. It's all tied together, and let's be honest, we are the advocates for our area. So let's live up to it and push for it and continue to be those ambassadors.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Vicki? So I think a couple of points that I would like to make, back to my earlier statement, is that we're all so similar, and yet we do have unique attributes. So it only makes sense to collaborate and coordinate, and then it makes sense to pursue what is unique to each of us. And Jess's question was around data points. So when she talks about getting excited about the census, I just want to let you know that, like, the census for economic developers is like the Academy Awards.
My team thinks
the census is coming out. And then this year they released it in batches, and we're all like, oh, I have to wait? And it's like, tonight's the night. It was like we're actually texting each other, tonight's the night. We get this information tonight. So I just want you to understand.
I really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you for validating that.
Here, we're as excited about the census as Jess is. And I just want to emphasize that, you know, when I talk about the sector we're pursuing, we don't just say, oh, that would be fun. Let's do that. We look at the numbers, and as economic developers, we have a number of tools in addition to the census, although it's one of our favorites. So we use something called a location quotient, for example, and it really is a calculation that helps to show how your local industry, the importance of your local industry to the province. So in Huron County, our location quotient for agriculture, and anything over about 1.25 is considered important. In Huron County, our location quotient for ag as an overall sector is 9.24. It's a $1.4 billion sector. Yeah. So when I say we want to support agriculture, you bet we want to support agriculture. We want to grow that. We don't want to just sustain it. We want to grow it. Now, agriculture is dependent on a land base. We can't really make anymore. So we need to look along the supply chain. We need to look at those opportunities, and we need to use that information. NRCan did a study in the past couple of years around feedstock for anaerobic digestion. And Huron County actually has the potential for 1,744 terajoules of feedstock. So I'm not gonna go into that in depth, but what you need to know is that's one of the highest census divisions in Ontario, the highest numbers for a census division in Ontario, and it's in the top 10 in Canada. So we would be crazy not to pursue anaerobic digestion. It only makes sense. As well, the green fertilizer component, the powering of ag equipment through hydrogen and other advantages of hydrogen production. So we don't just pull a rabbit out of a hat. Numbers and statistics really form the foundation for everything that we do.
Thank you. Thank you. My colleagues are like, you're kidding, right? I'm not kidding. Anyway, so thank you so much for the panel discussion, for joining us today. But more importantly, thank you for being part of my team. Thanks for being a group I can call on, and for your commitment to being a collaborative partner with the Clean Energy Frontier program. Thanks very much. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Wonderful. So we are almost done for the day, but before I pass the event along for our final speaker and closing remarks, I need to take a moment to say thank you to my team at the Nuclear Innovation Institute. Could I ask you to stand up? I see you sort of scattered. If you work at the NII, could you stand up? Do you want me to ask Stelina to ask everyone to stand up? Awesome, thank you. We got Philip Craig in the back, who leads our Explore program. We have Chad Richards, who's the director of the Bruce Power Center for New Nuclear and Net Zero Partnerships. Thank you. I've lost Becky there. Becky Smith is a director of municipal innovation, leading the Municipal Innovation Council in Bruce County. Thanks so much for coming. Allison Kuhneman, who has been so helpful with this entire planning. Allison, thank you so much for being here today and for all the help that you give us. My colleague Jordan, who has taken care of registration and food and dietary restrictions and the flowers, which were purchased locally by Flowers by Us in Walkerton. They're beautiful. Jordan, thanks for all your help. I couldn't do it without you. Our super talented communications team, Dana Van Allen's our director of communication, and Margot, social media, digital marketing, something strategist, brilliance, all the creative. Thanks. I'm surrounded by such an incredible team, and I'm grateful every single day to be able to come to work and work with this team of helpers. So with that, it's my pleasure to welcome Mike Renchek back to the podium to bring us some closing remarks. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's a big ask to bring you in for an entire day, but I do really deeply appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. Well, thanks so much for everybody for coming today. Did I turn this thing off? No good? Yeah, it was a great day. You know, one of the things that I would take out of this and reflecting is just what an opportunity we have in our areas. Like it's probably an opportunity as we look at items going forward, it is unprecedented. Some of the things that we are able to have here are things that come around once in a lifetime. And I think it's the people in this room, the people in our municipalities, the continued support from our provincial government, and what we all choose to do that will make the difference in terms of what the future looks like. The nice thing about it is it's really up to us and our imagination. And we can choose a future that's brighter, better, different. We can choose a future where things stay the same, or we can choose to go backwards. And I think having that power, just having that ability to make a choice and make a difference is meaningful. And with that, again, thanks everybody for coming today. Really, let's make the most of what we can over the next year. I look forward to seeing you next year here.